Former President Donald Trump may have to watch his steps even more carefully, as even his own lawyer is cautioning against particular posts on his platform Truth Social. Now, you're not going to believe what he posted on there, and it's clear that he realized it too, as he has now removed it from his account. Oh boy. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is also showing some strength in a couple of polls recently, with him actually leading against former President Donald Trump. And since we already talked about social media, Utah just signed a bill to control the use of such platforms, as they're seeing how it negatively affects the youth. Now, California, on the other hand, they're looking to ban toxic chemicals that can supposedly be found in a few popular candies that you and I most probably have eaten at one time or another. And President Biden's climate czar, John Kerry, is saying that even more executive orders should be expected, as their plans to reduce emissions is far from its goal. What kind of changes should we expect? Well, John Kerry talked a lot about our cars. So should we expect them to completely ditch gas-powered vehicles altogether? Would you guys ever agree to letting the government take your gas-powered car from you? Now, before I continue, please take a second, smash the like button for the video. It totally helps me out a lot, and it encouraged me to make even more informative, useful content videos for you guys. Now, if you guys are new here and you're in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to Social Security, the state of our economy, what's really going on in Washington, D.C., the housing market, the stock market, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And for the very best way to invest in gold, hit the link in the description down below of this video. Now, for a guy who hasn't formally made his bid for the 2024 presidential election, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sure is showing that he's got a little bit more than a slight chance of dethroning former President Donald Trump as a Republican nominee. That is, if you check these two new polls that focuses on Iowa and New Hampshire. The surveys were conducted by Public Opinion Strategies, a Republican polling firm, and they found that DeSantis led Trump by 8 points in Iowa, 45% to 37%, and tied in New Hampshire, 39% to 39%. Now, this is much better compared to national surveys that have had the two head-to-head. Now, even though this seems like good news, the polls also show that many Republican voters did not see DeSantis as the best candidate to defeat President Joe Biden. This also showed that Trump's biggest weakness was temperament, and it's obvious that this could very well be true since he recently deleted a post on Truth Social. Now, as you can see, it's him with a baseball bat and a photo of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. The image was pulled from an article that Trump shared on his Truth Social account, and even though he took down the photo, the former president continued to talk about Bragg in another post. He asks, quote, "What kind of person can charge another person, in this case a former president of the United States who got more votes than any sitting president in history and leading candidate by far for the Republican Party nomination, with a crime when it's known by all that no crime has been committed, and also known that potential death and destruction in such a false charge could be catastrophic for our country? Why and who would do such a thing? Only a degenerate psychopath that truly hates the USA," end quote. He really has to be careful what he posts online, since he's already had an issue before on pushing for supporters to back him up regarding an issue. The post was seen in such bad taste that even his own lawyer admitted that this was not a good move. So here's Joe Tacopina talking about it recently.
"I'm not his social media consultant. I think that was an ill-advised post that one of his social media people put up, and he quickly took down when he realized the rhetoric and the photo that was attached to it."
Do you guys think that Trump needs a social media team, or should they just kind of keep him away from these platforms altogether? Now, speaking of keeping away from social media, Utah just became the first state to have laws that will limit how children use these platforms. The two bills signed by Governor Spencer Cox requires parental consent for kids to be able to sign up for sites like TikTok and Instagram, and it prohibits kids under 18 from using these apps between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. Other states like Arkansas, Texas, Ohio, Louisiana, New Jersey, and California also have very similar proposals, and it could only be a matter of time until they have them approved and ultimately implemented. Now, since we already talked about California, let's talk about the bill that aims to ban toxic chemicals that are supposedly found in candies like Skittles and Pez. Democratic State Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel introduced the measure, which would ban the sale, manufacture, and distribution of foods containing chemicals that can be linked to health risks, including cancer, behavioral problems in children, harm to reproductive health, and damage to the immune system, end quote. In a news release, Gabriel had said, quote, "Californians shouldn't have to worry that the food that they buy in their neighborhood grocery store might be full of dangerous additives or toxic chemicals. The bill will correct for a concerning lack of federal oversight and help protect our kids, public health, and safety of our food supply." end quote. They're planning to ban any food that may contain red dye number 3, titanium dioxide, potassium bromate, brominated vegetable oil, or propylpropaban. The bill is getting some pushback, and one group that's doing this is the American Chemistry Council. They're saying that the existing regulations are enough to ensure that any foods that contain titanium dioxide are safe to ingest, and that this measure is merely an overly broad and unnecessary burden on consumers, manufacturers, and regulators. But what do you guys make of this? Are our candies unsafe? And will this affect how you buy your candy? Do you buy candy for your kids? I don't even let my kid eat candy. And how will this affect climate change? I'm asking because it seems like pretty much everything that we do now is somehow connected to it. And here's the Biden administration's climate czar, John Kerry, talking about what could be coming next for us as they're pushing for this green energy agenda.
President Biden, having signed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the most ambitious climate legislation in history, but still is only projected to get a 40% reduction in emissions by the end of the decade. And the US has promised a 50% reduction by the end of the decade.
Well, we're doing a lot more than just the IRA. The IRA is a package that in and of itself could get the 40%. But in addition to that, the president is issuing executive orders. There'll be changes on automobile, on light truck, heavy duty, a number of initiatives that are being taken by states, subnational, cities. They really kept us in the game, frankly, during the Trump administration when he pulled out of the agreement. But 75% of the new electricity that came online during the Trump administration came from renewable resources. So we have a lot of other options, tools, if you will, in the toolkit besides the IRA.
And you have to wonder, what kind of executive orders are in line for our cars and trucks? And isn't it strange that there are executive orders for cars, but not for Social Security? Now, I don't know, guys. I mean, someone's bound to tell me why the government isn't doing more for us. But I just find it mind-boggling that we're not talking about the actual Social Security solvency issue of this program more than we're talking about, say, climate change initiatives, for example. But you guys tell me in the comments, like, what's really going on? Now, I guess I'm a little bit more worried because I see your comments every single day, and it shows me that a lot of us are in trouble financially. More of us are being forced to use credit cards, and even some fear losing their houses. Our current cash flow has been stunted by inflation, and it feels as if bankruptcy is now becoming a reality for many working Americans. And as much as it pains me to say this is what we're facing. But I want you guys to remain optimistic and know that opportunities remain out there. There are ways to improve our cash flow, through investments in the stock market, real estate, building and developing businesses, side hustles, small businesses, home-based businesses. And let's not forget about protecting ourselves. We've got gold and other precious metals. And of course, for the best way to invest in gold, there is a link in the description down below. I just want you guys to remain optimistic. We are going to make it through this. Now, before I go, guys, please take a second, drop a thumbs up for the video, and subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one.